I'm live. We're going to play some ukulele. I'm running late. Let me go post this on the webpage. And the webpage you need to go to is jollyrogerukulele.com. That has all of the information on there that you need to do to have to be successful. And we always post the links at the top of the page now. I used to post them down below, and now I can never get it right. Highlight, link, enter, settings, options, open, update. All right, let's make sure that this is up and running. Everybody will be like, what the heck, where you been? I'm supposed to start now. So we're going to give everybody a minute or two to log in here. And I've just been running behind all morning. So we're going to make you a good ukulele player. All right, there we go. I'm going to start putting stupid faces on all of these videos. Let's see. Valerie made it in. Caleb. Hey, Gary. Caleb, probably not going to. Well, there's in-person classes going on at Lakewood, but you're too skilled for those. Those are beginner stuff. So I am probably thinking, well, and we're probably not doing in person for a while, but I would suspect we're probably going to start in person. Well, obviously, we're hoping for January. I'm hoping, but things got to get a whole lot better out there before I'm going to be doing that. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but it's going to be a while. Yeah, the in-person classes that are starting out at the Lakewood Cultural Center next week are wonderful classes, but you're too advanced for those, and so it's not going to do you any good to come to them. So I think this is as good as you got for right at the moment, right? It's a crazy time in our lives. You'll look back on this and you'll say, yeah, when I was a kid, there was a pandemic and it was terrible. That's what you'll say. Those of us who are grown-ups were like, well, there's a pandemic, and I keep wishing that it wasn't a pandemic. That's what we're dealing with here, I think. I don't know. I wish every day I want to go out, but I don't want to go out, kind of thing. So, hey, Melissa, welcome back. Evelyn made it in. Harmonica, glad you had fun today. Hey, Brig, welcome in. Glad you're here. Michelina's here. Guys, I am a little behind. All morning I've been behind, so we're going to wait just another minute or two to let everybody get loaded in here. Some of them may have already wandered off. They're like, well, apparently he's not doing it today. So, yeah, so that's what we got going on. All right, today is Brahms Lullabye Day, and I love this song. So can you talk a bit about doing the same song in different keys like we've been doing? I've been trying to wrap my head around. Oh, Michelina is asking a very, very challenging question, and it's about different, playing a song in different keys. The depth of that question is surprisingly complicated, and so we can talk about that very briefly. I do a little session on music theory coming up. When do I do it for you guys? Let me go take a look. The music theory class is really about the circle of fifths, and let me just see real quick how far down it is. Do I even have that on our list? Yeah, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Probably not for another 11 or 12 lessons in this series, but I can talk about it briefly. Okay, so we can get there. Let's see. It's a great question. Let's see. Vic, you're making this time very special for us. Oh, yeah, I hope. It's given me something to do, otherwise I'd just be, I don't know. What would I be doing if I weren't doing this? I don't know. You guys probably are unaware of the level of guinea pigness you're being right now. I'm using all of this stuff I've created for years. I've been using it in face-to-face classes forever, but it's interesting teaching it here with no feedback from students. Essentially, I cannot tell if I'm teaching you what I think I'm teaching you, other than the questions you ask in chat, right? And it gives me an idea of, hey, is that material included in what I'm talking about? And a lot of times I've been safe, but a couple of times people have asked questions and I'm like, oh, I don't. The reason you don't know that is because it's not in the material. And so I'm adjusting my material. I'm going to post all this up on Amazon so that people can buy a book of this stuff coming up. And uh, there's a lot of there's a gajillion ukulele things out there right now, and all of them are of a specific type of playing whatever. And of course I believe that in the 17th century they finally got it right, and then they should never have changed it. But of course things have changed, and it's gotten worse since then. And so that's why I always joke, I teach you this way to play ukulele the 17th century way, 300 years before they invented the ukulele. All right, let's see. Okay, so we're gonna thank you guys. You're very kind. Let's talk about Brahms Lullabye. What we'll do is we'll play it in this key, and before we leave, we'll change the key. I'll show you how you do that. Okay, it's on this hand. That's all I'm going to teach you how to do. You're gonna get a pretty powerful lesson here. Let's look at Brahms Lullabye. We are in the key of C. How do we know that? Okay. He says, reaching back for his ukulele. We're in the key of C because it starts with the C chord. It ends with the C chord. There are a whole lot of C chords in it, and C's very best friend in the world, G7, shows up inside of the song. All of those are huge clues that we're in the key of C. The other thing, if you have prior music knowledge, you'll notice at the top of the chords and lyrics line, right where you see the treble clef. By the way, can you draw a treble clef without looking at it? It's a musical skill you need to have. Just don't look at it. Grab a pencil. Remember pencils? We used to have pencils. You line down, a little squiggly around it, and see if you can get it correct. It's harder than you think. Once you can draw it perfectly, then you're eligible to order the tea towel and the coffee mug with the treble clef on it. But next to that, there's a 3/4 that tells you how many beats are in each measure. 3 is the important number. And then sometimes you'll see pounds and hashtags and that sort of stuff in that area as well. Since there's no sharps and no flats, no pounds and no little B's up there, you are either playing in the key of C or you're playing in the key of A minor. That's the problem with that system, is that it has 2 answers. But since there's none there, you're either in C or you're in A minor. Since there's no A minors at all in the song, it's unlikely that you're playing in A minor. So we're in the key of C. Okay, that's how you know. It's funny, I pulled up a piece of music the other day, and I was getting it ready for something. I don't even remember what, but it was in the key of C. But for some reason, I had put it on a B flat blank. And so I was looking at it, and I was getting ready to work on it. I'm like, what's, and I just wasn't paying attention when I wrote the original song out. I grabbed the wrong blank. It was a B flat blank. I went through and put the whole song in. I obviously made the adjustments going through there for the flats. And then I realized, well, what in the heck what was I thinking? So I just, the beauty of software now is I can hold all the notes to their original pitches, but then change the key underneath them. And I was able to fix it rather quickly. In the old days, you would have had to go through by hand and fix that thing. And it's why when you go into academia and when you go into these, colleges and stuff, they are still, to this day, even though we've had software now for 20 years, still dedicated to this notion of standard notation, even with all of its weaknesses and all of its challenges as you go from, as a multi-instrumental system. It's not the best. But you get people who are like, I've been in music 80 years and we never had software in the old days, and this is all we had, and this is our commitment, and we're sticking to it. And it's crazy because we have software now where you go click, 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 and it's in a different key, and you don't have to, and it's just the world has changed a lot when it comes to music and playing this stuff. And that's why I always tell people, you really don't have to know the standard notation. You should. It's wonderful. It's one more cool thing you get to do. But in order to play this instrument, you really don't. You only have to know little pieces of it, and those are easily learnable. Which let's learn them right now. Okay, so Lulla, the first 2 notes in there are eighth notes, right? They're a dot with a line going up, and then they're tied over the top with a flag. Okay, that flag, sometimes there's a flag by itself, and lots of times they're tied 2 together. Those turn them into eighth notes. Those are worth half a beat. Okay, and that makes sense if you think you're in 3/4, there's going to be 3 beats in every measure. So measure number 1 on this one has a rest for 1 beat, and then another rest for 1 beat, and then 2 eighth notes, which are each worth half a beat. So that adds up to 3 beats. Okay, so rest, rest, la, la, makes sense. In measure 2, you have the one with the hole in the middle, right? That's a half note. That's worth 2 beats, followed by 2 more eighth notes. So it makes sense. Bye is worth 2 beats, and then and good are each worth half a beat. So you got and good, so that they add up to 3. Okay, measure 4, you finally get 3 actual quarter notes. Those quarter notes are filled in with a line, but they're not connected to anything. There's no flag on it. Roses, B, and so there's 1, 2, 3. So that has 3 beats, makes sense. And measure 5, you got 2 more quarter notes, D, light, G, dite, is the word, followed by 2 eighth notes, which have the tie that are connected, and that those equal 1 together, 2 half notes, 2 half beats, sorry, and then so that equals 3 again. The little swooshies, the swooshies mean play it smooth, and what they really mean is sing it smooth. On ukulele, oftentimes we're supposed to play swoosh, but the note changes strings, and so you can't really do a swoosh. But the idea is the singer is going to say, "With roses be dyed," right? So the voice descends through that, and that's what's going on with those swooshies. Now, not all swooshies are created equal. Sometimes we'll use those to tie notes together so that the value of one note and the value of the second note we add up together. Okay, so that's what on all of the sheet music I give to you, there's a real standard notation line for the singer usually, but the more important function that it plays on our type of sheet music is it tells you how long the note is supposed to last. That's in my mind the only weakness to tablature, is that it doesn't tell you how long that note should last. So if you look at measure 2, for example, it says 3-0-0. Well, you would either play it as 3-0-0, or you could play it as 3-0-0, which is how you're going to play it, or you could play it as 3-0-0, right, or 3-0-0. So you can't tell how long those are to be played. So that's why you need the standard sheet music to help you out with them. All right, so a little discussion on standard notation. Before we leave, we're going to take Michelina's suggestion of, hey, I'd like to have some thought about changing chords or changing keys. How do we do that? And I'll give you some suggestions on that. Okay, let's go through and play the chords. Make sure we know what those are. First chord is a C. Okay, that was from yesterday, right? And then the next chord is a G7. So put your index finger here, middle finger here, ring finger tucks up under there. Okay, we're going to play that. Then we're going to go back to the C chord. Slide your ring finger forward, lose these 2 guys. Okay, 3 beats of that C. Then we're going to go to F chord. So index finger here, second string, first fret. Middle finger jumps up to the top. You got a nice F chord. Hey Q, welcome in. And then when we're in F, to get back to C, ring finger drops down, lose these 2 guys. Okay, back to a G7, index finger, there. And then we'll back to the C. Back to the F. Back to a C. Back to G7. And end up on C. That's how we're going to do it. The goal, as you're new and you're learning your chords, is 1, see what you got, right? Knowing how to get from C to both either F or G7 is every bit as important. So when you're here, being mindful of, I got a G7 coming, get my index finger planted first and then add these 2. And for, I'd say 95% of chords, planting your index finger first, and then your rest of your hand will eventually learn to behave, and it will just naturally start to fall into these recurring chords that come up all of the time. But in the beginning, right, once we get C, just remember F and G7 are both have your index finger on this string here. So sometimes you'll do this to G7, sometimes you'll do this to make the F, okay, on this song. We're going to play it through from top to bottom, and then we're going to play it through again. Important piece of musical knowledge here. Measure 17, you will see above it a bracket with a 1. that means you play that the first time through. And then over 18, measure 18, you will see a 2, and that means you're going to play that the second time. You are not going to play 17 the second time. So when you get to 17, you're going to skip over 17 and play 18 the second time we go through. What I tell everybody, and I do wish that people would actually do it, you take a highlighter and you put it right down at the beginning of measure 17. That highlighter says, hey, you need to think, is this the first time or the second time? Okay. And then when you hit that highlighter, if it's the first time, you play 17. If it's the second time, you don't play 17, you play 18. And then I also tell people, put a piece of highlighter up at the beginning of measure 2, where the forward repeat is. You see the dark double lines with the 2 dots. That's where you go back to. Most of the time, I think that's fair to say, you're going to go back to the top of the page, but not always. And so sometimes your tendency will be for your eyes to race up there. But if it's not there and you have yellow highlighter, your eye will go to the highlighter wherever you've added it on. It's a very helpful thing with getting your repeats right. And those, when you first start in music, can be very, very challenging. And so do yourself a favor. Grab a highlighter, take your paper, a little line of highlighter on the beginning of 17, and then also at the beginning of measure 2. Okay, that way you go back to the right spot. Let's give it a try, just the chords. Okay, close your ears, I'm going to sing. 1, 2 times through. Count in twice, and then we'll start. 1, 2. Lullaby and good night, with roses be dyed, with lilies be spread, his baby's wee bed. Lay you down now and rest, may your slumbers be blessed. Lay you down now and rest, may your slumbers be blessed. Lullaby and good night, thy mother's delight, bright angels beside, my darling abide. I will watch as you sleep, may your dreams be so sweet. I will watch as you sleep, may your dreams be so sweet. Okay, that's about full speed, right? So if your chord changing is going smoothly, you're in great shape. If you were kind of falling behind a little bit, we got to go work on this song, work at it at a slower speed, try to keep the pacing steady, work at it a little bit slower speed, and then start cranking it up a little bit. Now it's basically full speed. Hopefully those chords are starting to come in around your hands. Yesterday we spent quite a bit of time on them. We'll spend a little bit more time on them today before we go. And so that's how we would like to sing and strum it. Okay, and you know, the first time through I was plucking, second time through I was strumming. There's no rules on that. You can do whatever you want. You just get a different texture, a different feeling based on whatever type of strumming you choose for any given song. In that case, I tried it 2 different ways. I don't know if one was better than the other. Probably, since it's a lullaby, something nice and soft is going to sound the best. But, you know, sometimes you don't want it to be, sometimes you'd like to torture people with a lullaby. All right, now let's go play the melody. That's what we really care about, okay? At the end of the day, the thing that will make you a great ukulele player is playing melody. Strumming and singing will make you a better singer, might give you a little bit more rhythm. You might, you might get a date. But what we really are after is becoming a musician, which will prevent you from getting dates. But what will teach you to get the sound and the song out of this, and whether you sing or not is completely irrelevant. Okay, and so that's what matters. Is, hey, let's play this ukulele melody line, get all of our notes out. Notice as you peek through, you see 1s, you see 2s, and you see 3s. There are no other notes. Okay, so if it's a 1, you're going to hold down your index finger. If it's a 2, you're going to hold down your middle, and if it's a 3, you're going to hold your ring finger down on whatever string you need to get. Okay, so let's take our time. We'll go through it. I'm going to go a little slower. 1, 2. Oh, oh, 3. Oh, oh, 3. Oh, 3, 3. 2. Oh, oh, 3. 2, oh, 1. 2. 2, oh, 1. 2, 1, 2, oh, 3. 2, 3. Oh, oh, 3. Oh, 1, 3. Oh, oh, 1, 3. Oh, 3. Oh, oh, 3. Oh, 1, 3. Oh, oh, 1. Oh, 2. Oh, oh, 3. Oh, oh, 3. Oh, 3, 3. 2. Oh, oh, 3. 2, oh, 1. 2. 2, oh, 1. 2, 1, 2, oh, 3. 2, 3. Oh, oh, 3. Oh, 1, 3. Oh, 1, 3. Oh, 3. Oh, oh, 3. Oh, 1, 3. Oh, 1. Oh, 2. Oh. And you jumped over and played measure 18, right? Okay, after that long talk, pretty good chance you played the first note of measure 17 if you don't have a piece of highlighter on there. Okay, so just remember, you jumped over to, you did jump over to play 18. All right, beautiful. Hopefully your ukulele is starting to say that to you. You didn't have to sing it all. You just had to make sure to be on the right string, hold down the right fret, and pluck it. Okay, and I don't think I'm overestimating this at all. This is super, super, super important. If you were playing any instrument, almost every instrument in an orchestra, that's exactly what you do. One note at a time, as beautiful as you can possibly get it, in the proper timing, that's what you do. And that's almost every instrument in the orchestra. A couple of the string section is an exception. They often can play 2 notes at a time. The harp, of course, is an exception because it can play many notes at a time. Piano is an exception, but that's it. That's it. All those other instruments are designed to play 1 note at a time. They can play them really loud. Okay, a flute player will blow the socks off of you in terms of volume, but they have to play them 1 note at a time. And same with clarinet, oboe, trumpet, tuba, all those 1 note at a time. And so you getting really solid and clean with your 1 note at a time program is going to make you sound like a legitimate, serious musician on this thing. Then, of course, we move on to the tough uke stuff. And that's where we take those chords we've already worked on and we start sneaking them in when we can underneath that melody. So we're going to go through, we're going to walk through it one time, make sure you know what you're supposed to do. Then we'll go through, we'll play it twice. Okay, so from the top, first 2 notes are the same. We're on the tough uke line now. First 2 notes are zeros. Okay, so okay, now you're gonna put your 3 on that second string. It's a C chord, but the melody note is here, so we don't put it here. We put it on the second string, 3rd fret, and then we do our rest stroke like we did in 3 Blind Mice. Lullabye. Okay, and then 2 more zeros. Take your ring finger off. Oh, oh, and then 0, 0, 3 again. Okay, 03, or off and then back on. Now we're going to drop down, put the ring finger on the bottom string. Change it to your middle finger, hit the 2. Kick it off, hit the 0. Now you're going to put a G7 chord on, but the melody note is 0, so you can't put your ring finger on. You got to not put it down. Okay, so here's your G7, but you're not going to use this finger. 0, 2, 1, 0. That sounds cool. And then take your ring finger, put it up on 3, pluck that. You're already holding the 2 down, so pluck that. And now you're going to have to lift up your index finger to free that string to play the 0. and then put it right back down. 0, 2, 1. That's a G7 chord. Rest stroke. Hit the 2. Hit the 2 again. Lift up your index finger to get the 0. And then 1, 2, 0. So you've got your G7 back on. Still not putting your ring finger down. Okay. Now you got 2, 1. You're already holding both of those down, so go ahead and pluck them. And at measure 8, you have a nice G7. Okay, 0, 2, 1, 2. That's a G7 all day long. Play all 4 strings. Then you'll lift up your ring finger again. Play the 0. Reach it up to get the 3 on the second string. Then put it back to get the 2 on the first string. And then play the 0, 0, 0, 3. Beautiful C chord. Okay, couple of zeros on the third string. Okay, here's a little bit of an exception to what I teach you right off the beginning. When you have an F chord and it has a 3 on this first string, typically you would use your ring finger, right? The problem I have, and I've seen it with a lot of students as well, is that we have this tendency where your ring is going to come down. When you're holding this F shape, your ring finger is going to come right down on top of the bar, and you're going to get this dead sound. So when I see 2, 0, 1, 3, I straight out for my pinky. That way I'm not going to I got a little bit more flexibility of where this goes. So I'm going to play that. Okay, that's your 2 with the 3, F chord with the 3 on the top. And then 0, 1, so just take your pinky back off. And then the 1. And then 0, 0, 3, we're going to slide that in. Okay, measure 11 and a half, we got 2 zeros, so just take that off. Put your G7 back on, but again, you're not going to need this this string held down. So you're just really putting 0, 1, 2 down. Okay, play 0, 1, 2. Use your ring finger to go grab that 3. And then you got a 0, so you're already holding, it's already open, so pluck it. And then 0, 0, 3. Again, rest stroke. Hit the 2 zeros. Put your F chord back on. Pinky up here on 3. Okay. And then 0, 1, so just lose your pinky. And 0, 0, 3. Hit 0, 0. Nice G7 chord again. Hit the, lose your index finger to get the 0. Hit the 2, you're already holding it down. And then 2 zeros. And then we're ready to play the song a second time. Okay. Oh, Jackie showed up. Hi, Jackie. Oh my gosh, how exciting. We got a whole crew down there at the Chatfield Reservoir. You guys, most of you guys aren't from Denver, but down south of town we have this Chatfield Reservoir, and then the Botanic Gardens has a branch down there. And they do corn maze, and it's a fun place to go. So looks like Jackie's down there partying hard at the reservoir. Look in their bags, guys. Bet you that there's a bottle of wine in there somewhere. Okay. All right. So now let's play the whole thing. We're gonna play it through it 2 times. Okay. We're gonna go down. I'm gonna go slow, right? And what happens when you make a mistake? Nothing. You just made a mistake. Whatever. Who cares? In the past. Move on. Okay, if you miss a note, you miss a note. If you get yourself all twisted up worrying about the note you just screwed up, you're going to screw up more notes, right? So just whatever happens. You played the jazz version, is what we like to say. So you let whatever tragedies be in the past, and you're always moving forward. So if you make a mistake, forget it and move on. Okay, I'm going to make mistakes probably, right? I know how to play ukulele. Still, I end up making mistakes. And the harder part is, all right, I blew that. Your mind shuts down because, mistakes are bad in the real world. In music, they're just a thing that happens. If you let yourself get too twisted up, you're not going to miss a bunch of other notes. So jump up to wherever the next good entry spot is. Get ready and wait for us to catch up to you. That's how we work that. Okay, so Brahms Lullabye, we're going to go blast Chatfield Reservoir. It's going to be the thing of beauty. Okay. Tough uke. Usually start by holding the chord, this chord, and then we're going to start with your ring finger here. No, you're not, because you got to hit the zeros. 2 times through. 1, 2. measure 8. F chord with your pinky. 003. Measure 12. F chord, add your pinky. So repeat. Measure 2. F chord with your pinky. C chord to finish up in the second ending. Isn't that a pretty tune? I love that tune. Just nice and pleasant. The slower you play it, the better it gets. It's set at 80. You can probably play it at 60, be just fine. And I would say, take your time through that section. Through when you're playing tough uke, we always slow way down until we really, really have that together. And then you can start thinking about speeding it up. But the big takeaway from this piece of music is, one, your chords, C, F, and G7. They're coming up. They're going to be a daily activity for you. Number 2, can you play this straight melody? Dun, 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 dun. Not unimportant, very important. Okay. And then the third area you're working on, which is the hard area, that's the stuff that's going to make you sound like a legitimate, really, really fine ukulele player, is being able to combine those. On the internet, they call it fingerstyle. Fingerstyle ukulele, right? That's where you're taking chords and melody and combining them together, often adding in a few decorative notes along the way. This piece of music doesn't have any decorative notes, but we'll be adding those in, and as we move into the program, a little bit, adding in extra notes that just sound pretty. I'll teach you how to do that, and then all that is going to wrap into you becoming a very fine musician. I teach 2 very different styles. One is orchestral style, where we go lickety split as fast as we can, and that's where that ukulele melody line comes in, and also the chords. And then I also teach solo ukulele, which is the tough uke line, which is, hey, I got to do the whole job myself, so I need to know how to do that. Okay. Let's see. Jackie, Sue, and Donna, I hope they were killing it out there, right? I hope they're playing it like, oh my gosh, we just put the baby to sleep. Get the wine out. All right, next. I don't know if they have wine. I'm assuming. Why would you go to the reservoir without wine? Maybe they got beer, right? Let's talk very quickly. Michelina's question was, hey, I would like to transpose stuff. Let's pretend you wanted to play this in a different key. Here's how you do it. Right, you take your thumb, you hold it up to your face like this. Wow. Whatever chord is on here, this chord and this chord are going to sound great with it. So if I put C here, D is going to, who knows, E, F sounds good with it. G sounds good with it. So 1, 4, 5. Those chords sound great. So if I put a D chord here, D, E, F, G, and A sound great with it. If I put an E chord here, E, F, G, A, and B sound great with it. That's what guitarists play. E chord with A and B. Okay, that's what they do. Okay, you just played C, F, and G. They sounded great together. If I decided, well, I want to play this in the key of A, the first thing I would think is, all right, I want A, and then B, C, D, and E. So do I know my A chord? Yep, I learned it when that little kid's book we did. D, I know that chord. And E, 7, I know that chord. So now I can switch. Before it was lullaby and good night. With roses be dyed, with lilies be spread, his babies be bed. So that was in C with G7, and then I quit before I got to the F. If I switch it to A, now all of my C's are A's, all of my G7s are E7s, and all of my F's are now going to be D's. So let me give you that. Let me give you very quickly, okay? 1, 4, and 5. Those are now my new chords. So I'm going to start with A. Lullaby and good night, with roses be dyed, with lilies be spread, his babies we bed. Lay you down now and rest, may your slumbers be blessed. Lay you down now and rest, may your slumbers be blessed. Okay, so that's the bare bones minimum you have to know for transposing. Okay, if you got a song in 1, 4, and 5, which in this case is C, F, and G, all we have to do is change this chord, and then these two chords change accordingly. So instead of C, this is now A. Instead of F, this is now D. And instead of G, this is now E, E7 in this case. Okay. And so if I were on baritone, let's say, Michelina, and I wanted to play this in G, then I would play a G chord, A, B, a C chord, and a D chord, right? D7 here. And that's how that would go. Okay. So it's an excellent description of transcribing. Honestly, once you figure this out, then honestly, especially those of you who are singers, 1, 4, 5, that's going to become a significant part of the speed thought that you have to have. When you go to the jazz club, those guys are really, really, really good at transposing and using all sorts of weird and complex chords in their music. At the end of the day, underneath all of this fancy stuff they're doing, it's 1, 4, 5. It really is. Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, Rachmaninoff, jazz, everybody, 1, 4, 5, because it works. It makes our brains are set up to handle music in that particular mathematical style. And then obviously there's a level of that's the foundation. And then there's this layer of complexity with, multi-finger chords and jazz chords and all that go on top of that make it sound more sophisticated and all of that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, 1, 4, 5, and it works in the minor chords as well, minor keys as well. 1, 4, 5 is where it's happening, and so that gives you the sort of the jiffy pop way to transpose a song from one thing to another. Okay, and let's see. There you go. Let's see. Melissa's like, yep, that's how I do it. Cute. Am I correct that on some measures like 7, 11, and 12, 7, 11, and 12, and 13, you do not strum the fourth string. See the number not on you on those measures. You don't strum the first string, the bottom string, which is what you mean when you say the fourth string. Okay, so your first string is on the bottom. So yes, you are correct, Marilyn. When you don't see a number on it, you don't play it. So measure 7 says 0, 2, 1. You come down and play 0, 2, 1, and not play this string. That's where that rest stroke comes in. And your thumb just hangs out there. So you're absolutely right. You don't play it. But this is the first string, not the fourth string. Okay, well, I know it seems like just me being fussy about a particular issue that's not really an issue, but it is an issue because you've got to know this is string number 1 and this is string number 4. Because if you mix those up, you will constantly be describing things incorrectly. Okay, we want this to be string number 1, but it's not. This is string number 1. This is string number 4. So your thought process there is absolutely correct. So when you're doing that glissando and you're going down 0, 2, 1, you don't play the first string, and that's why your thumb sits on it and rests. Absolutely, Q. You've got it. So the one that sounds right to us is usually the first version, most common version we have heard. No, Michelina, no. The version that sounds right is the one that you have listened to in entirely most recently. I can play Brahms Lullaby in every single key. There is no key that I cannot play it in. And when you've been playing, when you listen to it, it will sound 100% fine. It doesn't matter what key it is, it'll sound 100% fine. When you switch keys, like we just did, it sounds weird because your ear is used to the last version you were listening to. The only time this comes up, and I will tell you, it comes up in pop music all the time, and particularly with the Beatles, that people grew up listening to those albums 57,000 times, and I go to arrange it to fit it on ukulele. Well, often it is very necessary to change the key to make it fit onto ukulele. And the first time they hear it, they're like, well, that's not right. That's not how it goes. And I play it through them 4 or 5 times, and then they forget that it doesn't sound right because they're used to hearing it now in the key that I have it on ukulele. But initially, because they have that every darn album that they put out memorized, it doesn't sound right if you change the key. Another great example of that, YMCA, which we're playing in guitar class right now. The original, the one you hear on the radio is in F sharp. Now, nobody plays in F sharp, but they probably put it in F sharp because that's the key that he could sing it in easily. And so they took their guitars and they put a capo on it, and then they played it in F sharp. But there's no instrument where F sharp is your first thought. And so when I arranged it to play as a acoustic guitar piece, I put it in A. I think I put it in, I don't remember what it's either A or D. And so initially when you play it, you're like, that doesn't sound right. But then once you play the song, you're like, oh, it all works out. It's fine. And so whatever the last key that you spent working on for the longest time, that will sound the best. And then it's when you switch that you're like, something seems wrong. Like when I strummed this just now in A, I had a little difficulty getting into the song at first, but once I got to the E7, then I'm like, oh, okay, now my voice can sort of center around the harmonic center and I'd be fine. If we play this in A, it would sound fine. Right, but it sounded weird when we went from C to A because your ears and your head were still in C. So yeah, all songs will sound fine in whatever key you pick. It may sound different than the original or the one you're used to listening to. And I think pretty quickly, especially on ukulele, we have to put things in different keys in order to fit them on there. We run out of notes otherwise. And so you'll see lots and lots of stuff I do end up in either C or F, occasionally G and occasionally A, just because the low note and the high note, I got to get them where they all fit onto this little tiny fretboard. And so sometimes I put them in, almost always they end up in a different key than the original, right? When you see somebody who's playing Over the Rainbow, they love that because it's in the key of C the way Israel did it. And so it sounds a whole lot like the original and their brain doesn't have to do any work. So that's what transposing does for you. Let's see. Jackie, having fun playing with friends, drinking water for now, maybe wine later. You have 2 new fans that will check out your archives and get caught up. Yeah, Donna. Yeah, who else was it? What was the other person? Sue. Yeah, Donna and Sue. Why aren't you already playing with us? Making Jackie do all the work. She goes by Jacqueline. I always call her Jackie. Yeah, thank you so much for your explaining and indulging my questions. Yeah, and music theory, guys, is definitely part of my overall structure. It's something I want you to know because I want you to know how music goes together. And when you first come to music, it's just a series of numbers and a series of notes and letters, and none of it means anything to you. But over time, I want you to understand the structure of music because my job is to get you where you can play anything you want on any instrument you want. And in order to do that, we have to do the work of making sure you understand the theory behind what's going on here. This piece of music could not be more perfectly placed in music theory. There are no sharps, there are no flats, the chords are exactly what we think they're supposed to be. The melody flows in this beautiful fashion from one to the next. There's nothing in here that's weird, and so it's part of the reason it's a lullaby. It's just very peaceful and pleasing, and 100% of this actually fits dead on in day one music theory stuff. And so it's important for me to convey that to you over time. That's the best big gift I got as a piano player. Is my teacher that I had for 10 years. She was like, after a couple of years, I'm like, I'm tired of it. It just feels like notes coming at me. I know there's some structure behind all this. And she goes, "You're ready for music theory." And she and I spent 8 years working on music theory together. Best gift I ever got. All right, Evelyn, good to see you. That's a very all right. I'm gonna let you guys go. It's time to get out of here. I gotta go run to the bathroom, and then I'm gonna go teach advanced ukulele. Advanced is advanced. It's probably advanced. Today's less advanced than yesterday. Yesterday was a dumber song, but it was harder to play. Today we got a beautiful piece, Sweet Leilani, 1934, I think. And so if you guys are not doing anything for the next hours, come by and sit in on that class. It should be. I really like it, and so I think you will too. And so come hang out with me in 10 minutes, and I will see all of you. If I don't see you in 10 minutes, I'll see you down the road. I'm going to end the stream. You guys have a wonderful day. Keep playing ukulele. What am I supposed to say? Be good. Be safe. Practice. Keep showing up. Oh, subscribe and like. Right. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day. Excellent. You're welcome, Brig. See you tomorrow. Uke. It is a great song. It's Brahms. Nancy. All right, Nancy. Good to see you. Have a great day. I'm going to end the stream.